Is there any particular meaning behind the carvings on a piece of jade? So I'm going to be answering your question on whether there is any particular meaning behind the jade carvings and also the feng shui aspect of the piece of jade. If you're new here, my name is Eileen and welcome back to the Pearl Atelier. Jade has been around 5,000 years BC, and Confucius always advocated that the jade is reflecting every noble character or quality there is, such as benevolence, integrity, honesty, intelligence, and righteousness. So the wearer, when they are wearing this piece of jade, is supposed to emulate these qualities. In ancient times, it was actually called the Stone of Heaven because it was worn by the Son of Heaven, who is the Emperor himself. In the past, it was worn by the royal family and the nobility, so it is a very precious stone. It's also the central character, so to speak, in one of the Chinese classics, The Dream of the Red Mansion, which is in the Chinese culture a classic like Shakespeare is in the Western culture. So it plays a very pivotal role in that story. It ties up the whole story about how important the jade is and how in the end, if you are not embracing those qualities, it will actually turn your prosperity and good luck to misfortune. But in this day and age, not many people know about it and they're just wearing it for the aesthetic value. So let's get started. One of the most popular and well-known design obviously is the gold coin, which I'm also wearing. It's in the form of a pink jade, so which is very unique. So the gold coin, obviously, it's supposed to represent the coin and wealth. If you go back to 100 years and further back, there are two schools of thoughts on this, because the older generation, some of them think that it's actually representing a bee disc, so which is actually representing the earth and the yin and the yang. Irregardless, it's supposed to represent wealth, and it's supposed to bring in wealth and prosperity. Before you start collecting jade, I would actually advise you to watch another video of mine which is styling jade for men, because in that video I'm touching on the fact that you have to get certain types of jade before you get the green jade, otherwise it will not work for you. The wealth cannot flow in towards you unless you have all the other pieces in place. So for the gold coin, I'm featuring a few pieces from the ancient times, from the Han Dynasty as well as the Ming Dynasty. You can see how much it has evolved over time. You have to keep in mind that it may seem rough to our eyes in this day and age, but because at that point in time they didn't have the machinery that we have nowadays. Everything is handmade, so they have to chip away at it to produce these fabulous pieces. But by the time it came to the Qing Dynasty, it was very much finer in quality because they have evolved over thousands of years. I'm showing a few examples of the gold coin. They have more modern designs, such as the one that I'm wearing, which is very streamlined, which is very simple and modern. And then you have the donut shaped ones, like the purple lavender one that I have is also absolutely gorgeous with a diamond center. And also you have a few other examples on the internet where you have the gold carvings in the center of the gold coin depicting the dragon and the phoenix. So the next one that I'm going to be talking about is obviously the dragon pendant. So this is very popular, not only amongst men but also amongst women like myself. I do have a dragon pendant. I'm very attracted not only to simple designs like the one that I'm wearing, but also carvings. I think it's very important for you to invest in them. So if you look at the article from CNN, you will see that there is a new wave of Chinese really splurging their money and investing in jade because they know that it will have a high investment value. This CNN write-up is highlighting that the Chinese are spending millions on jade It is synonymous with the Chinese culture, which dates back to 5,000 years BC. The chairman of Sotheby's Asia was quoted as saying that there is a new wave of collectors in the market with money to splurge, and that Myanmar is the only source of quality jade has also contributed to the growth. The qualities of the stone is paramount. We see the actress Jessica Chastain wearing a fabulous pair of emerald green jade studded with diamonds. It is at once luxurious and arresting and different from the more commonly known gemstone, which makes jade so uniquely desirable and a status quo amongst the elite Chinese. And this increasing market and the demand outweighs the supply because Myanmar is the only place in the world that supplies the best quality jade, and then it takes time for the master craftsmen to craft these pieces of jade. So that is why it's also very wise to invest in carved pieces. So if you look at this dragon pendant, which is mine, this is made up of mutton fat jade, so which is of the highest quality and the most desirable color besides the commonly known green jade. This is much more unique and much more rare. So if you look at some of the pieces, the actual pieces from the Qing dynasty, as well as what was being depicted in period dramas, you can see the empress or the empress dowager. It is the most favored among the Qing dynasty, especially the Qianlong emperor, and which I've mentioned so many times in my video, in which his imperial seal was auctioned off at US dollars 25 million. So the dragon, as I mentioned, is a mystical creature and is very revered not only in the Chinese culture but in the Western culture itself. It's supposed to represent the emperor, and that is why it is a very popular design amongst men. And likewise, the phoenix is supposed to represent the empress. In the past, actually, the empress herself or the empress dowager is the only one who is supposed to wear the phoenix crown. No one else is supposed to wear it. Even if the concubine is more favored by the emperor than the empress herself, that concubine is not allowed to wear the phoenix crown. It's the same like if one of the lesser prince or the dukes demand to wear the crown from the crown jewels, which is tantamount to treason. So only the empress is supposed to wear the phoenix crown. So you can see an actual example of it in the museum, as well as depictions in the period dramas. So this is precisely why in the Chinese culture, when you have a wedding, you always have that dragon and phoenix emblem behind you, and it's supposed to be the highest mythical creature in Chinese culture. Is supposed to depict majesty, nobility, everything that is supposed to be very grand, and that is why people love this emblem and this symbol, and they wear it in the form of a jade. And then another more commonly known is the mystic knot. So the mystic knot, I think everyone knows what it is. It's supposed to represent eternity, that everything is never ending and everything is supposed to flow more easily. So this is also another very popular design. You can see many different forms of the design, and that is exactly why it will stand out. An imperial green jade, so that is much more of a darker color, which is different from the apple green jade. So the apple green jade is supposed to represent, is looking more like a very fresh green and reminds you of spring, whereas the imperial green jade usually has more of a decadent, elegant and luxurious feeling towards it, and that is why it looks absolutely fabulous when married together with diamonds. Other depictions as well. So in the past, for example, when we are talking about the peach, if you ask any of the younger generation or even people from my generation, I doubt that they will even know the meaning behind it, because everything is lost, especially when the Chinese try to be more westernized, and then they try not to want to know much about the Chinese culture. But in the past, like 100 years before, the peach design was very, very popular because it will be given by a young man to the girl of his choice. So for example, if he wants to go study with a girl, he would actually purchase a piece of a peach jade pendant and he would present it to her, so that it's like officially telling her that would you be my steady girlfriend. And once she wears it, it's almost like an engagement. So instead of a ring, then once a lady wears a peach jade pendant, it's like telling the world that she is already engaged and has a steady boyfriend in her life. So it's, I think, a beautiful gesture. And if you look at the peach, you would be forgiven to think that it actually looks like a heart. So that is precisely why they chose this emblem or this symbol as a symbol of their declaration of love, which is so sad because I think nowadays the younger generation, they don't know the total meaning of this, and that is why this peach design is not as popular today as it was maybe in my parents' generation. And then you have the popular gourd design. This, it doesn't look appealing to the younger generation, but in the older generation, for example, if you have an elder in your family, they would actually present it to them on their birthday because it's supposed to wish them for longevity and good health. Or for example, if there is a sickly child in the family and they are born very weak, so the family member would actually present them with a gourd in a jade form. Imagine if you are a sickly person and every time when they look at the color of the jade, it is green in color. Green is supposed to represent life and new life and plants and greenery and nature, and that is why they chose this to present to a sickly person. So whenever they look at it, they will think of getting better, they will think about nature and outdoors and everything growing new and abounding with energy again. So this is also another reason behind people presenting the gourd, whether to a sickly person or to an elderly person. It's also a sign of respect when they are giving a piece of jade to the elderly, because that is the time when a person has been taking care of you all of your life and you want to gift them back with something very, very auspicious and meaningful towards them. They will really appreciate it, especially the elderly. So if you have a grandparent that you really want to show them how much you cherish them, I think they will be very delighted if you present this to them, because it will reflect the fact that you are embracing your culture. Thankfully, because of the popularity of period dramas, nowadays the younger generation is slowly embracing the culture and being proud of their culture. And that is precisely why I'm working so hard for my channel, so that I can use this platform to advocate Jade. If you're enjoying this video, I do hope that you will consider subscribing to my channel. My channel is a very small channel and I am investing so much time and energy into this channel, so every single subscription would definitely help my channel. Then we have other types of prosperity symbolism, such as the cabbage. That is exactly why every time during Chinese New Year you will see the dragon dance, and they will tie a piece of cabbage on the house for the dragon to grab hold of, because it's supposed to represent wealth as well. And then you have such things as the bat. It's supposed to also represent prosperity. And then when you have things like the frog, if you look at this small jade figurine that I have, it's so exquisitely carved, and the color from the mutton fat jade is absolutely arresting. I really love this. And whenever you see a frog, the meaning is very clear cut. A lot of people usually put this in the office. I was working with a general manager who was a British, who was based in Hong Kong, and he had a collection of frog figurines on his office desk, because it's supposed to represent the fact that it will help to jumpstart your career and that you will constantly be promoted. And that is why it is a very popular design to put as a figurine in the office. And then you have the popular butterfly. So this is where the term social butterfly actually came from. So for example, in the past, if a young girl wants to debut herself and wants to be a social butterfly, she would actually purchased a piece of butterfly jade, and you can see here an actual portrait of the Empress Qixi of the Qing dynasty, and she is wearing a butterfly jade in her headdress. So when you look at, for example, in modern times, when you look at Mariah Carey's career, in her earlier albums, you can see that she hasn't really found her style and how she wants to project herself. But have you noticed that after she came up with the butterfly album and she used the butterfly as her symbol, her career literally skyrocketed, and from then onwards, she really found herself. She really knew how to project herself as a diva, who is always very glamorous, and that is what sets her apart, obviously apart from her fabulous voice. So this is where the symbolism and feng shui behind the jade carvings comes into play, because you really can see that after that album, her career really took off, and until today she's using the butterfly as her symbol. If you want to be socially very prominent and you want to be very successful in your career, you want to be very well known, this is the piece of jade that you should be getting. Because even the Empress Qixi, when you look at her in this portrait, yes, you may think that at this point in time her age is quite high, but she still uses it in her headdress, and this is an actual portrait of her. And this is exactly why amongst Chinese women, especially those who are, for example, married to a very socially prominent businessman, or whose husband is very socially prominent, this is the jade that you should be investing in, even though a lot of even Chinese women don't know this. But when I pointed out especially about the story about Mariah Carey, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It really worked in her case, and until today she's using that emblem very successfully. So I think whether or not she is aware of it, it is a very successful feng shui story right there. That is exactly what feng shui is all about as well. So whenever you're wearing that piece of jade, and then when you look at it, you're reminded. So for example, if you want wealth and you're looking at the gold coin, every single time when you look at it, it will actually motivate you and trigger it and remind you that you have to keep working towards your goal, whatever it is, whether you want to be wealthy or whether you want to be a social butterfly or you want to be healthy. These are the pieces of jade that you should be investing in. After all, it is a small amount of money for you to invest in to bring you closer towards your goal. It is also a great investment because it will only appreciate in time. Obviously, you have to be very careful about which pieces you invest in, that you should purchase it from a dealer that you trust in and who has a track record and who knows about jade. And I hope that this video has been very helpful, and I also hope that it will aid you whenever you are going out and wanting to invest in a piece of jade and don't know where to start. So at least now you know the meaning behind all those carvings. Obviously, it's according to your personal preference whether you want something modern or you want something with carving. I think a mixture of both never hurt anyone. The most important thing is when you walk into a store, and if you are not sure, do your research. Try to go to as many jade stores as possible. Take your time until you're very comfortable enough to invest in one, and believe me, you will be drawn to that particular piece which is meant to be for you. If every time I want something in my life to turn around or my luck to turn around, I always invest in a new piece of jade, and believe me, every time I do so, something happens in my life, something changes in my life. I get to know a new person, or I get to have a new career, or I get to have an idea of how to start up a new business. There is some kind of an energy attached to it, and when you look at the meanings behind it, it is even more significant. If you want luck, or if you want help, or if you want social prominence, it is all up to you which one that you want to select. So thank you so much for spending time with me. If you want to know more about jade, for example, how to differentiate between fake and genuine pieces of jade, I've also done a video on that. I will be linking the playlist towards the end, so you can browse through them at your leisure. And I hope to see you again in my next video. This is Eileen signing off from the Pearl Atelier. Goodbye.
You've got the look of love. It's on your face. A look that time can't erase. Be mine tonight. Let this be just the start of so many nights like this. Let's take